Hello, my name is Jarrell Benitez. Welcome to another episode of Rel Off the Hill. I have two of my friends here with me, Signey and Tia. Let's get started then.
When they don't understand it, they say I'm and I know more. I be on it. I be on it.
All right, ladies, what's going on? Why don't you guys introduce yourselves and
You first, my dear.
All right. Well, I'm Tia. You guys all know my name. I've been in Boise for actually on my Uber ride here 8 years. I counted. It's cool. It's different. I'm originally from Denver, so you leave that big city, you lose some changes. But I've created a whole life here. I have an aesthetics business locally. I have my own salon. I sublet to other girls in the industry, so trying to master that kind of scale side of that business. And I'm a mom, 2 little boys, and living the American dream, so they say, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right on. I'm Sig. I am a local of Boise, Idaho. Been here my whole life. Lived in Arizona for like 3 years. Moved back here to open up my business, which is a tattoo studio in downtown Boise. I do that. I'm a bikini barista, and then I also do OnlyFans as well.
okay.
So we stay busy.
She working hard. And free promo. You did
Got
this.
to.
Hey,
Hey,
free
there we
promo.
go.
I told you, she did my tattoos.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool.
We gotta
All
get
right.
you to get one.
We'll get what?
A tattoo.
A
Oh.
tattoo.
I'm sorry. I was talking about
OnlyFans. Yeah, I knew that's what he was gonna say.
out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Out of pocket. But yes, I actually do want to get some tats. I'm working on a back piece right now that I kind of want to, I'm piecing it together on the artwork that I want, because if I'm gonna put something on my body, right, I think I'm a pretty creative. I want it to have a meaning to what it wants. Too many people just get tattoos just because they look good, you know? And there's nothing wrong with that, but if I'm gonna put something on my body for the rest of my life, you know, especially with me being the darkest skin, I want to make sure it looks good. I just want to get something I want to get something that's meaningful, not just something that looks good. So, but you're from Boise, yes?
Yes.
And you said you're from Denver, right?
Born and raised. Yeah.
So how is Boise similar to Denver?
That's a good question. So I moved out here, I was like 20, and I remember all my friends were like, where the hell is Idaho? You know, and I'm like, I don't even know, it's next to Oregon. I'm like, I just picked the biggest landmarks I could think of next to it. But in Colorado, I've been really blessed. I have family that's like all over. So I didn't just only stay in Denver. My parents are military kids, so I was born in Colorado Springs, which is like a big base.
Okay.
That's really blended, right? Denver's really blended. And as you go like towards north, towards Wyoming, it gets a little different. But there's a little town right before you go into Wyoming. It's Fort Collins. It's really not little anymore. Now it's huge.
Yeah.
But it has CSU there. It's got like a little downtown, and it's got like agriculture. And that to me is Boise. So because I was there and I had seen that, I kind of had experience like coming here, kind of knew what to expect. I will say, like, when I first moved here, the speed of life is different, which I bet you could understand, right? Like, things are just a lot more slower here. That took time to adjust.
Yeah.
Weather-wise, it's pretty similar, actually, except obviously in Denver, I'm like from snow like 6 months out of the year versus here in Boise, like we get a little bit and everybody's just like panicking, and I'm like, I grew up in blizzards walking to school, you know, so that's a big
sporadically
difference.
too with the snow here, you know.
Yeah.
We don't get like, well, in Boise, when you go up north,
Of course.
you go to the south,
Yeah.
you get more snow. But in Boise, it's like the perfect pocket, because it's like, well, we're not getting snow like in the winter every week, every 2 weeks,
Yeah.
like you do in McCall or Mountain Home and even further down, which is crazy. But
Yeah, I definitely like it. It took time to adjust, though. I actually brought my parents out here like 2 years ago to come visit. I took them to go see the Blue Turf. My dad's he played college football, so he's in love, you know. And took them like all around town and like did cool stuff. And I remember like one of the last few days my dad was living here. He's like, or staying with us. He's like, you know, I haven't heard a siren. Like, you know, like an ambulance or like a police siren, right? And like, I've been to Arizona too, so, you know, you hear them all the time, right?
Yeah.
And I was telling my dad, I was like, that's probably one of the best perks about Boise. It's quiet. It should be quiet. You know, your environment should be something that coexists with you. And that's a luxury I think that we take like for granted here. And so definitely love Boise. Like I said, I wish there was a little bit more diversity. I wish there was more I remember going to like my friends' pop-up art shows and like stuff like that, being more of like the art community and things. But overall, it was an easy transition.
So how did you get from Denver to here though?
Well, that would take the whole podcast. I ain't gonna lie. I've lived almost everywhere. So
Okay, so
yeah.
let's just sum it up. How did you hear about Boise and what drew you here?
So my parents are split. My mom and my 2 aunts, because I come from a whole family of women, they were out here. My uncle's in real estate. So he left Colorado like almost 15 years ago,
Okay.
trying to be ahead of the rush. And then I was in California. That's the long story part, living my best life, right? And my mom was like, hey, you get an apartment here for like $600. I'm like, you lying. And she's like, this summer, this is back like 2016, 17 though.
What?
2016, 2017, you
Yeah.
could get a 1-bedroom off Warren Springs for like $600, you know?
Yeah.
And so when I came out here, I had never even lived in a house before, you know? I grew up all the time in apartment housing. And so I ended up renting a duplex for like $800 for me and my mom's. And I was like, you know what? There's a lot of things Boise doesn't have, but Boise has comfortability. And a lot of places can't say that.
That's true.
And that is a blessing in itself, you know? Now, there's a whole tangent about people from Boise, and I know they experience like different hardships, but it's always that gratitude, like, you know, it's harder for someone else. And like I said, you know, my dad back home pays double my rent for less space.
Yeah.
So something to keep in mind,
But yeah, that's a fact.
especially raising a family,
Yeah.
right? So, but Arizona, I've been there.
So-
Been there.
It's so nice.
So you weren't so sick. So I know you lived in Boise quite a while, and then you decided to go back. Not back, but you decided to go to Arizona, and you decided to come back. Why?
There's kind of a lot of reasons, but mainly because I know a lot of people here in Idaho, and I felt like I would have more of an advantage if I opened up my business here versus in Arizona where I know nobody.
More
True.
competition in Arizona, yes, because you're not from there. Yeah.
It's way more saturated
But
too.
which business?
All of them.
Okay. Okay.
And also, there's actually there's bikini beans out there, but that's like legit just bikinis. Whereas mine that I work at is like more like naughty coffees. So like lingerie, pasties, you know, more risque things. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And yeah, so kind of just essentially just moving back here. My family's still here too. My parents, my little brother moved back here too from Bozeman. So I was like, might as well just stay here for a bit.
Okay. So, but what made you leave AZ to come back to Boise?
To open my business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely get that. Like when I started my business, it was straight hustle. I didn't know anybody. You know, now if I had went home, that's a different scenario, right? Like you have your high school friends, you have your, you know, the girl that gives you coffee or like your mom's friends, you know, but when you try to start something somewhere where you don't have those relationships, every single relationship you have to build and work for. So it was a great business move for you to move here because you had that, you know, community.
Clientele.
Yep, that clientele.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, obviously you guys know I'm from New York, right? I've been here almost 10 years coming next year, 2025. And like you said, yeah, it was definitely a big switch coming from a big city to a city like this, but it's also different. There's so much opportunity and just being around a different crowd of people, you know?
Completely different. Yeah.
Really like refreshing. Although, like you guys said, does need more expanding in as far as the reach of the amount of not the type of people, the diversity. But I never turned back. You know, I love New York, but it's just like New York can suck you in.
Yeah.
You know, but New York is one of those places where it's like it's a hustle. Everybody's like it's nasty right now.
Been out there.
Right now they're trying to charge people to drive into Manhattan, which is like, how are you trying to charge people to drive into Manhattan? That's outrageous.
I didn't
Like,
know that.
Right now they're going through a lawsuit, which sucks. But I can understand. Me personally, if I was to move back to New York, it would have to take. I wouldn't give up my house, but it would have to take like a drastic thing for me to move back. And I mean, like I would have to hit the lotto. and live on top of like Central Park.
Oh,
Outside of that, I don't really see me living back in freaking New York. Because like you said, rent in Denver, you can imagine rent in New York.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You get 200
10
square.
times worse.
Depending on where you at, you get 300 square feet probably for like $2,500.
Mhm.
Depending on where you at, just not just based off the location of the place, which kind of sucks, you know, just because obviously minimum wage is not where it should be, you know, and how you're expecting people to pay these high wages, live some type, not a comfortable life, but have some type of, you know,
Oh, yeah.
budget for fun, whatever, you know, and you can't really do that when, you know, you're spending all your time working just to, you know, pay it off. But the, at the end of the day though, you know, right, YouTube University has everything you need to know to learn a hustle for free, because there's so much knowledge that's being put out there and on different things. You want to be the best landscaper? Guess what? You can go on YouTube. This guy will teach you where to get cheap products, how to start, you know, not just him, probably 200 other people.
Yeah.
So I don't think a lot of people really utilize YouTube, whereas, you know, it's really important. When I started to learn a little bit about crypto,
Yeah.
I was on YouTube just kind of researching different things, and you know, I'm no crypto expert by any means. You know, I missed out on plenty of waves, and I'm upset. But you know, about 2018, I was kind of like 2019, I was looking into it, you know, and I'm like, okay, I learned a lot, and how to transfer money from certain wallets to this wallet, that wallet, and it was really interesting for me to learn. So YouTube has so many different things.
I learned how to build a transformer on YouTube.
Okay.
The fucking Hasbro toys. I'm gonna need you to upload some more YouTube tutorials because your girl is struggling. Okay, talking about, mommy, I need that Miles Morales is like little toy and stuff. Yeah, I'm like, YouTube it is.
So
Let's just talk about YouTube. That's all I'm thinking about. Is like this one time I had to build this transformer. I was
Like,
like,
what did I use for you?
yeah, I'm like, actually, what did I learn?
Bro, how to roll a joint.
yeah, how to contour actually.
That too. Makeup tutorials.
Oh, fire.
Yep.
Tia, how is it being a single mother? Is it hard for you? Is it easy? What are some of the struggles or some of the things that you wish were different?
Well, I will say single or with someone, regardless, raising a child is hard.
Yeah.
It's no easy task. It is the best part of me. You know, like when we talked about, like, you'll do this podcast, you're like, well, explain yourself, right? Who I am is very heavily defined by me being a mother in so many ways. Because one, it helped me advance my personal character, but it also helped me define a lot of outlooks I had on life, relationships, theology, down to what I eat, right? Like, I didn't cook. I did not cook. So I wish a man would ask me to make some spaghetti for him. I was never gonna cook, right? But then all of a sudden I had 2 little kids, and now I'm thinking about what they're eating. Now I'm thinking about how they digest it. How does that look like? You know, what I want to teach them too. Like, I want them to go one day and say, hey, my mom makes the best, you know, spaghetti ever that they ever had. Example, I don't eat spaghetti, but you get what I'm saying, right? So it's changed everything, and it's not easy. It is one of those things that are a daily commitment. It is self-sacrificing, but it is tenfold rewarding. That's the thing. But you do have to be able to receive that. You know, you do have to be open to want that, right? And I will tell everybody, I'm not a perfect mother. I'm not. I enjoy being with my kids, and I enjoy not being with them. Took me 5 years, my son will be 6 this July. It took me almost 5 years to realize that me having alone time actually made me be a better mom, which you don't see a lot of that. People don't want to talk about that, you know? I remember when I had my son, and I was 21 when I had my first son. He was a baby. And my friends were at the club doing bottle service, you know? And I'm seeing all these Instagram mommies, you know, and burning themselves out. And I did it. I wouldn't let nobody help me with my son, you know? And so when I tell you I've went through every stage of motherhood, I have, and I'm still not even close to even being done or even fully comprehending. But I will say, no, like I said, it's not easy. It's hard. That's why it should always be a choice. I'll drop that part too, because it was my choice. I signed up for this. I'm going to give it the best I can. I have tons and tons of, like I said, things that I have learned and thoughts, and the characteristics even within myself I have changed to be a better mother. I do raise boys, so I can't speak on girl moms. That's very different. And I laugh because when I was a little girl, you know how you want to be like, I want a boy, I want a girl, right? I wanted a girl my whole life. And I had a boy, and now I'm like, ooh, I can never be a girl mom. It's just a lot. My niece likes to bite. I'm like, hell no, I don't want to do none of that, you know? My son is super cool. Both of my kids are very cool. I have a few things that I pretty much base my parenting around. I do co-parent, so I'm not with their dad. That's difficult, right? And a lot of people do that. I grew up that way, and I choose to behave in a manner of what I wish would have happened when I was a kid, right? So, you know, like when kids are with dad, that's dad's house, that's dad's rules. I don't undermine him. He doesn't undermine me, right? At the end of the day, we're still a family. We might not be together, but we are a family. Everybody deserves love, kindness, and respect, regardless of your beliefs. You know, as a bartender, like you mentioned, I talk to people all the time, and you even know, we don't have the same beliefs. But I can have that conversation with you because I will always respect you and you will respect me and keep it that way. So these are things I raise my kids with. This is how I also co-parent with, you know. We put our boys first, right? My son just started kindergarten, goes to school. And that's a whole other thing. You know, I be getting mad. I be threatening to burn down school. I'm like, you better not tell my baby no, like, you know, and I had to tone myself down though. I had to realize, you know, I also had to let him go. You know, I had to let him fall off. You know, he came home one day, his pants are dirty, he fell. I'm like, what? You know, there's so much happening all the time. I would say though, as a boy mom, if there's one thing that I could change, which is kind of like what we were talking about, like for topics of podcasts, right? Like, you know, my whole life, I never thought that boys had feelings. I never thought that guys had feelings. You know, I'm an only child. I only know my dad. My dad never cried. You know, my dad's like bald head, black man.
He might have
5'10".
cried. You just never
I
seen
just
him.
never seen it, right? And you know, he was a bodybuilder, you know, middle linebacker, just real tough guy, you know, and
He definitely cried.
yeah, well, now he cry all the time, okay? How's that flip, you know? I told my dad I'm being on a podcast. He's like, I told you to do this years ago, you know? I'm just like, what? But my whole life, though, you know, especially those early years, like being 18, 19, 20, 21, you know, I didn't think guys had feelings, right? Until I saw, until I deal with my kids, you know? And I raised my voice, they cry, you know? Or I didn't like that you did that, or just seeing how truly sweet they are, how vulnerable they can be. I think that that's really refreshing in the world that we live in. And with a lot of stereotypes that people give men, it's really nice to be a woman and be able to see that that's not who they are. That's not how they think and they do feel. Does that make sense? You know? And
No, absolutely.
that has been also, like I said, one thing I want to change, but also the most amazing thing ever. Like I paint with my sons 5 days a week. They love art. They express themselves. You know, if I do something my son doesn't like, he will tell me. I've created that safe space for him where he can be like, you know what, I don't like that you said that. And I can also tell him, I don't like that you did that.
Yeah.
And I hope as they grow up, they always keep their emotion, number one, and two, they always feel safe and secure enough within themselves to speak their mind. That's really important to me. And I think a lot more men, I think a lot more mothers need to teach that. To be respectful, to be kind, to be considerate. But you don't ever have to lose that soft spot in you. You can always have it. And you can always speak your mind. And you should. If you can do it correctly. It's the biggest thing. So it's been cool. It's the biggest trip. Like, I am going to say this. So I have done acid before. Just going to be there, right? And I've done it. Okay, I've done it twice in my life. But the biggest trip of my life has been being a parent. It has changed so much. I've rebuilt relationships with my family. I have completely different outlooks of me as a woman, and I have 2 boys. How does that work, right? And then how I run my business, how I treat them. I don't micromanage the girls in my shop. You're an adult, you know, and just valuing people. So it's been really cool. And you know what? Single moms are awesome. I think they're the coolest thing out there. So
Give y'all props.
Being a single mother, how difficult is it for you to, I don't want to say find someone because love should be organic, but
like date?
yeah, to date someone, and because I come from New York. I mean, you guys know. I see all the time women just bring every single guy they're around, their kids, and I'm like, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I look at it from both sides. It's like, well, depending on the guy, certain kids can learn from multiple people.
Of
However,
course.
though, as a single mother, you just don't want to bring every single person you may be interested in around your kid.
So I will say this, and I think Sid can agree with me. I have sometimes a tough issue of what people others will say you should or should not do, especially when it comes to a woman and her dating and how she chooses to. And this is also a battle I've had with my dad. You know, my dad's old school, right? Military guy. That family, all that family's from the South. So I grew up with that, right? Like I couldn't even cut my hair when I was a kid. So, you know, when I decided I want to step away and be a single parent, what I was just saying is I think that, you know, Sig and I can agree that there's a lot of people that go out into the world and say what you should or should not do. One thing about me, I'm hard-headed. I'm not going to lie. I love to listen. I will listen to you. But at the end of the day, I have some hard blacks and some hard whites of my lines of what I believe. Nobody gets to tell you what you should or should not do. Should you behave with caution? Absolutely. Should you have consideration for not just your life, but your children's lives? Absolutely, like with your question, right? And I actually, when I left their dad, it's been 2 years now, so we've already got over all those stages, you know. I talk with my dad, and I'm very grateful for that. Not a lot of women have that relationship, and I bless that. I fought for that. And, you know, my dad was just like, you know, he's a little misogynistic, so he was just like, you know, you can't be having that. First of all, the first year you leave a relationship like that, okay, I don't know where everybody thought that girls were going out and party, but I sure wasn't. Okay, I didn't even know what Tinder was, so I surely wasn't. You know, I was at home breastfeeding kids. You know, that wasn't the first thing on my mind, right? And let alone now, I also had to find myself, right, and see who that is. And you are not the same self you are at 24, at 21, and you're not the same. The same 24-year-old is not the same 24-year-old with kids. It's very different, right? So when I got into this dating world, you know, I started talking to my dad, you know, and he voiced his concerns. And I agree. You growing up in the city, you meet a lot of kids, right? I had a childhood best friend named Jordan. And he used to live like my balcony, I could see into his. And his mom was a single mom. And she did that. She would bring guys over here and there, you know, buy him a PlayStation, this or that or whatever. But you know who he came to, whose house he came to teach him how to tie a tie was my dad.
Yeah.
Because that was that stagnant and that consistent. So when I think about dating, there's a few things I think about. Obviously, yes, the effect it has on your kids, and that's a huge thing for me. But even like for like maybe Signey, who doesn't have children, that's a huge thing in general, though. The effect you have on her environment and her relationships, you know. But mine has that extra layer, obviously, because I do have kids, right? And it's a little bit more serious because it's not just my life that could be damaged; it's two other ones.
I agree.
So, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm very blunt. Like when I meet a guy, it's very not hard for me to tell if this is someone maybe I wanna see a future with and be around my kids, or is this someone maybe I wanna have fun and have in my personal life and maybe date that way. And that's how I did dating for a long time, right? Like I would separate that as, you know, hey, we're fun, we can go to the bar, you know, there's an event, we'll do this or that. You know I have kids, you know, maybe you ask, we talk about it, but we keep it separate. I've also dated other single parents. They also like that style very much, that when I'm with my kid is my time, and you're with your kids is your time, and when we have that middle ground, we meet. I've found that that's the most successful because it allows you to still do what you need to do at home and be there, and also gives you two time to decide what you want to do without risking anybody else, right? And then I also dated people who didn't have kids, and maybe they wanted something serious, but I didn't feel like maybe they were the right fit, right? Or things like that. And that came with a whole bunch of other issues, right? It is difficult, yes, because not only do I have to find a good partner for me, I also have to find, yes, a role model. Somebody that I would want my kids to look up to or be like, or this, that, and the other. The one thing for my situation, though, my kids see their dad every week. We still do family events together. We still go to concerts together for my son's choir. They know that that's their dad and that's mom. And that if anybody else is going to join, that is in addition to that base.
Family.
Exactly.
That's important.
And I think that kind of eliminates some of the drama that single moms have with dating and things like that. My kids know that that person coming isn't daddy or stepdaddy. That might be like it's mom's boyfriend or mom's friend, and them being okay with that role and everybody else, you know. So that's how I've done it. I will tell you, I ain't the best successful person at dating, and maybe Sig, you can agree. Once you get your independence, it's really hard to give it up. I hate doing another person's laundry. I gotta have you tried to find socks for toddlers? Okay, and then let alone doing some man's drawers. I'm just being honest. Like to me, it sounds like
because we were too far deep into our masculine energy.
Yes, and to me,
hard
like
to get that soft girl back out.
I'm sorry, but like I'm thinking about like I'm coming home and you know you playing PlayStation, you mad because you lost 2K, and now my day's run. I don't want to exchange that. I'm not sure if I'm ready to fully exchange that. And when you put in comparison too, I tell people this all the time. I'm raising 2 young men. I refuse to raise another man.
Yeah.
That's bottom line.
Mhm.
So finding someone who can work with this, that, and the other. And, you know, my dad even told me the other day, he goes, you know what? My dad raised me for the majority of my life as a single father. And I think it changed a lot of my perspective because of that. My dad told me the other day, you know, maybe I raised too strong of a woman. And I said, no. I said, you know what, Daddy? He's all feeling bad for me. You know, I'm telling him my dad literally says, what's up, player, when he answers the phone. Like, that's my dad, you know? And so he's like, you know, maybe I raised too strong of a woman. I said, no. If there is that right person, it'll match.
Exactly.
And if it isn't, God has blessed me tenfold with two beautiful boys that love me every day.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. And I wish more single moms saw that. But yeah, that's my little spiel about that, you know. Like I said, it's the craziest trip of my life.
Okay.
I learn things every day.
Okay. Okay. Well, Signey, what about you?
How's your dating life?
you
Let
don't-
me jump in. Actually, girl time, get out here. How's your dating life?
You don't have kids, but what is some of like
She got a cat.
some of the struggles that
That's your baby.
You're right. You're right. I do have a cat, my little Scottish fold, and that is my life. She's literally a child.
okay.
Literally, she doesn't act like a cat at all. But she's also a service animal. So I have like really bad PTSD. So having that is really difficult for me to be in relationships. And you know, there's other things that coincide with all that, you know, mental things. But you know, I'm not gonna lie, dating has been a little difficult just because and I mean this humbly, I put myself at a very like high pedestal because I work real fucking hard. You know, I work 3 jobs. I live on my own in a very, very, very nice, expensive place. Like, I bust my butt off. And so it's really hard to find people who are, you know, in my age range. Doesn't have to be, you know, younger or older than me, preferably older. But, you know, it's hard to find people that have similar goals and aspirations and people that are really trying hard to reach their career that they dream about. You know, like I've always dreamed about being a tattoo artist and doing something involving art, whether it's fashion design, which I went to school for. I also was in the medical field for 6 years, and then I said, shit, I make more money doing this and it's way more fun.
True.
So
More your personality.
yeah, totally. You know, I'd rather like heal people in a way that actually shapes them as human beings versus, you know, just telling them like, oh, you're going to be charged this, this, and this because your insurance doesn't want to cover this. Sorry, like nothing I can do. So that's why I got steered out of the medical field. But going back to relationships, it's really hard for me to find someone who's got goals and aspirations and can kind of like be on the same wavelength as me, per se. It's also very difficult for someone, like for instance, I've dated people with kids. I absolutely love kids. I want kids so bad. I have wanted them forever, but I've waited very patiently for the right person because, you know, growing up with divorced parents and, you know, seeing siblings go through relationship things, like it's eye-opening, you know, and I want the best. If I can like shape that and like find the best person that fits with everything that I want, having realistic standards, of course, then so be it, you know. Make it
Okay.
work.
I think you definitely deserve someone who is worth you. And I have to say though, I think you deserve to hear that more often. I think women in general deserve to hear that. I think men deserve to hear that more often. You deserve someone who matches you where you're at.
Yeah.
And who can offer that to you and meet you there.
And
I was gonna say something though, because I do watch your stories, right? And you're gonna laugh at this, right? I am gonna be a little toxic for just a little moment, okay? Cause not real toxic, but just a joke. So she was making a story the other day, right? And she was like, you know, she goes, Signey, do the hand, do it. You know what she does that, okay? And she goes, I just wish we weren't so damn independent. Why can't I let people do nice things for me, right?
Ew,
She was like, why can't I let people buy things for me, you know, or whatever? And so when you told me she was going to be on the podcast, I don't know why I thought of that. I just never did it, right? And, you know, I was thinking to myself, like, you know, Tia's a single mom. You know, she was hardworking. I built a business. I moved out here. I didn't know a single soul but my mama, you know, and I've done all these things. But you know what? I had the hard realization. I like people to buy things for me. I actually am very opposite of her. I was like, you would think, right? Like, but you would think though, like, you're a single mama too, you know? It was cool to see your opinion and how you said something. And then to think about our conversation today and how that could affect it. And as you know, I realized, I was like, you know, I admire that of you, that you are that hardworking, you'll work the 3 jobs, that you'll go do all of that. I will if I have to, but I won't turn it down. That's the thing, like, you know, and I don't know, I just thought about the thing. I was like, yo, Signey is really independent. She actually is very hardworking and maybe even a little bit hardworking more than me, even though I got 2 kids.
So to touch on
Go ahead. I just had to interject that because I had to do the hand.
To touch on quite a few things, right? So you got people who will. So Tia, you're a single mom. You're not a mom, right?
Yeah.
So your situation is a little different, okay? Because I wouldn't say everybody, but sometimes when a lot of men want to buy something for someone, they expect something in return.
Well, that's the whole world.
No, of course. Well, not the whole world.
Most times, though.
No, not always.
Okay.
Not, you know, not always, right? For you, it might be a little different.
Okay.
Because, or it might be the same but different. They might want to buy her stuff so they can take her out on a date, this and that, right? But if someone gets something for you, right, it could be out of the kindness of their heart, or to her situation, they might want to have your attention.
Okay.
If they're not having, you know, if they're not being like, hey, I see you out here doing your thing, you know, let's hear, you know, whatever. Everyone's not like that.
Oh, yeah.
Or clearly, right?
Yeah.
Because if everyone was like, hey, I have a good heart, you know, no matter what, then the world would be a better place.
I just think why I said that comment is because when regardless of age, when I was in Signey's position, like before I had kids, no, I was not hardworking like that. I did want someone to just come in and be like, here, babe, let's buy Vans. Like I didn't want to work 3 jobs. That's what I'm saying. I'm being honest though. I wanted Mr.
Shit, girl,
you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, you know, because regardless of age, I think of like in the sense of, you know, even though me and Sig are very similar age, it's the fact of where you are in life, right? If I take the age away of life. Like when I first got my first apartment, right? When I was first living out with no kids and things like that. Oh, hell yes. I wanted someone to pay everything, pay my rent actually. I don't even want to work a job at all, right? And I see how Signey has chose though, that she wants to hard work, that she wants to do these things, that she's willing also to put in that work. I've been blessed that I know a lot of other girls in this community that are like that.
If you lived in New York, you would have no problem because that's what a lot of guys in New York do. New York is a bigger city, so the dating pool in Idaho is kind of small.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
You know, so you don't have a bigger dating pool where it's like, you know what, okay, I like this type, and that type. In New York, you could be like, okay, I'm gonna go find this type, that type, and this
5
type.
boroughs to go find that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got real slim pickings out here.
You telling me.
And Idaho is very, you know, it's small on both sides, girls and boys.
Yeah.
Right? And to touch on your topic of, you know, being a single mother in the dating world, I look at it from like a kind of different perspective because, right, I'll say a lot of women in the world, right, they got to understand from a man's point of view, and this is not every single man, I say from my perspective, when a woman has either a kid or multiple kids, a man has to step in, and if he likes that woman, essentially he has to learn to love kids that are not his.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Right? And a lot of women, I would say, don't appreciate that type of aspect because it's like, well, if you have, say, you're a business owner, you're continually trying to grow your business and make the most money you can, as opposed to, say, someone who's tapped out and they just want to work, say, a career where they may make 60 to 70K, just hypothetically, which is great numbers. However, though, that might not be enough based on the amount of kids you have.
Absolutely.
So, you want a man is to come in and not only provide for you and those kids, a lifestyle, a better life for everyone as a whole. A lot of women I see don't appreciate that.
Okay.
And I only say that because it's like, it takes a lot out of a man to go and love a woman, especially with kids or kid that's not his, and for him to take him in as his, especially if he has no kids, right? It's harder that way. If he has kids, I think it's kind of a little bit more easier. But if he has no kids, it's kind of harder that way.
So like Sig said, I will change one verbiage because I think verbiage is very important. I think regardless if it's a man or a woman, it is hard either way to love somebody else's child that's not yours.
I agree.
Either way, because even if Sig dates somebody who has a kid, she also has to step into roles that not necessarily she chose or wanted to. But that's where I will say this. And this is my personal choice and belief, I don't want to date someone who doesn't have kids. So I told you about that concept of having fun and having an actual relationship. That's one of those deciding factors. One, I have kids. My life is determined for. My biggest goals are literally coinciding with 2 children. I can't, like, let's say, for instance, you meet someone, you guys want to go to Cancun for a month. I can't. Who's going to pick up from school? Who's going to do the doctor's appointments, right? So we live a different lifestyle. I think out of respect, and that's a key word, respect. I choose not to date people who don't have kids because I don't want to have, which I have had to. I'm not going to explain to you why I didn't answer the phone for 2 hours because I had to de-escalate bath time, play time, and put my son to bed and then take a moment for myself. And that's unfair. If you're a man and you don't have kids and you went to the 8 to 5 and you went to the gym afterwards and then you want to go home and you want to chit chat with your girl and you can't because she's tending to her kids, that leaves room for resentment. There's a different lifestyle. The beautiful thing is there's over millions of billions of people on this earth. It is not, I feel like, and maybe I'm being bold, but I feel like it's also not bad for me to say I don't want to date a person who has no kids.
No,
just like there's men and women who say they don't want to date someone with kids because of what you said, right?
There's nothing wrong with that because from my perspective, if you date a woman with kids, right? And I don't have any kids. So if I were to go and date a woman with kids, it's like, well, I can just get up and go.
You can.
You know?
And they will always, and they can't, and they'll always remember you and there's all that.
Not like that, but let's say I say, hey, let's go on a trip. Let's do this, let's do that, right? It might be hard because being a single mother, especially with the whole co-parenting thing.
You can do it,
right? It might be hard because if you don't have family to say help step in and help you out, or if you can't really tell your baby father like, hey, watch the kids, I'm going on a trip with my new guy. He's probably gonna say no.
I've had that problem. I've had this. I'm all girl. Let me pull my things out the back. No, I've had that. I have missed out on guys. I have missed out on opportunities. I have missed out on spring break with the girls. And Scottsdale is my favorite place, by the way. Yeah, I've missed out on those things. But
Scottsdale?
Yeah, I would love.
I'll tell you this. Let me tell you. I hate Scottsdale, but
What?
I just hate it because I don't want to get into it.
Oh, well, if you watch this go to El Jefe on Tuesday in Old Town Scottsdale, and then go to High Five.
11-11. I hate.
Yeah. Cobra.
I hate.
I love Cobra.
I hate Scottsdale, but I think for me, one of the biggest things about dating is 3 things. It's support, appreciation, and reciprocation.
Okay.
You know, I'll be 30 in 2024, so
Old.
I wanna, pretty old.
Sorry.
I'm almost there, girl.
Am I a baby with the 2 kids?
It's my last year being in my 20s.
Oh wow, I really am hitting it good.
So I want to have, the aspect of I want my goals to align with someone, I'll be 30, right? And I don't want to speak about the things I have accomplished or whatever, but I've made plenty of mistakes along the way, and I'm still making mistakes, but I'm still learning from it. But I would like to view myself as someone who provides, and I love kids myself. I want kids, I want a family, which is why obviously if I wanted to just have kids, I could have had them. But no, obviously you got to be very aware of the person you have kids with. I want to be married. I want to have that. I want to raise a family and stuff like that. And I think my biggest goal in life is to be probably a great grandpa. Because I want to have that longevity of life. but also family too, you know. It's hard though because with social media and the way how social media is progressing, everybody goes to social media, look at things, you know. Oh, we live in a place where 20 years ago, where you and you didn't have to worry about, well, you and you guys are both beautiful, right?
Thank
As a
you.
man, I didn't have to worry about you guys going out and meeting, say, multiple people, right? But nowadays, you just post a picture, get 1 million likes, 20,000 likes, 15,000 likes, 5,000 likes, right? And then you hit in the comments, and it's like, oh, I could do this for you, I could do that for you, blah, 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 blah. Lust over people who actually truly care about you. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the biggest issue with, you know, dating in the world today is social media. Social media has taken it over to a point where it's like, well, Tia, you could be a single mother. You could look at all these other single mothers and they're talking about how, oh, you know, I got this man paying for me. He paying my bill. He paying this, paying that, paying that. But for you, you're looking at that like, I don't want that. I don't want my kids to even have that in their head, you know, because a lot of girls being like, and they might be raising sons. Oh, my kid. Oh yeah, he's paying for this, paying for that, and their sons is listening and hearing. It's like, well, mom, am I supposed to be paying for all her stuff, although I'm not really with her? It's not the right way to kind of.
Example.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
know, and for you, it's a little different though. You don't have kids, right? So when you get into the dating world, I know. Well, I want you to tell me, OnlyFans. A lot of guys are not comfortable with that.
Such
You
a
know,
mess, yeah.
because
Yo, you ready?
but at the end of the day, though, right? Everything is defined by. So you know, I like to do photo, video, and social media stuff, right? A lot of stuff is defined by the content you put out, right? Because people have OnlyFans, but they might play the guitar, they might play the piano. Because before OnlyFans took over in the XXX world, it wasn't used for XXX. It was used for
Whatever you wanted to put.
non-sexual stuff, right?
Yep.
You know, or non-lusty stuff.
Yeah.
So, from your perspective, if you tell a person that, hey, I have at least here, Boise's a small city, so it's like you don't get that understanding of like, oh, okay, I have OnlyFans. When you go to bigger cities, it's like, okay, so does 20,000 other girls.
Exactly.
But here, so few. So how do you communicate that with someone, and like, what is like? Have you experienced you telling that to someone? And it was kind of like insecure about it.
Yeah. So kind of similar to like what T was saying. When it comes to bringing that topic up, I'm very blunt, just like her. So I will just come out and say it from the jump. I mean, dating in your almost 30s, it's like, we got to get to the point. I don't got time to waste. So here it is. I got an OnlyFans. I got no kids. I got a cat that I'm obsessed with. I got this, and that. So when I bring up that I have an OnlyFans, people, I'm not going to lie, 9 times out of 10, people are usually pretty like chill about it. They kind of ask questions like, oh, so what do you have on there? And it's like, well, I have this. And then there's some people that are a little discouraged, you know, because their immediate thought is like, oh my God, is she like messing with other people on there? And that person either is or isn't, you know? So, but when it comes to dating, communication is huge. So I will be as open and honest as possible with people, and I will just lay it all on the table. I'm like, take it or leave it, bro. Like, you interested or not? Because if not, just let's not waste each other's time, you know? But at the same time, it's like, I've also been with people who are like, no, I'm okay with, you know, you having an OnlyFans, but like, they start to get a little selfish, and it's like they try to like have more control, and it's like, I'm sorry, but I'm not someone you can control. Like, and selfishness is not in my vocabulary or anything. So like, if you want to communicate with me, cool, we can work it out. But yeah, people are either one way or the other with it. There's no in between, really.
Have you had somebody who was, say, interested in helping you?
Oh, yes. Yes.
But I'm gonna assume it was in the wrong type of content that you wanted to
I've had
curate.
both, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've had people that actually have helped me with it. And then I've had people who, say like, oh, I can manage your OnlyFans for you. I'm like, no, you can't, because I know you're going to try and take a cut. And you're really not helping me. Like everything I do on my own for my OnlyFans, I record, I edit, I do scheduled like posts and mass messages, pay-per-view messages. I do everything. The only thing I don't do is some of my professional photos. I'll actually work with other local photographers and they'll ask like Sig, like respectfully. And I'm like, yes, respectfully, yes, I will take you up on that, you know? And there's no exchange, nothing other than me promoting their business, almost like a trade, or I'll tattoo them, one of the two.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
so as long as it's professional.
Being from New York, a lot of people, a shit ton of, females, males. Because nowadays it's not just dominated by women in the industry, it's dominated, not dominated, but you got a lot of guys entering the industry too.
A lot of gym rats now.
So it's a crazy world. It's a crazy world we live in. I mean, they did like what? I think I saw something online, it was like 3 billion
Mm-hmm.
last year, which was almost triple or double what they did since 2020,
Yeah.
I think. Because COVID hit, everybody went into this content creator role,
Yep.
2020. I mean, you got grandpas on TikTok,
Yeah.
right? Everybody. OnlyFans swept the nation. Everybody was home for so long. They didn't have to work. A lot of females like, oh, I can't get a job. You know what? Let me go and do this and do that. But I feel like what a lot of females is obviously, yeah, you can get your money, right? But can you tell your dad?
So funny thing.
Can you?
My family found out eventually in a really
Of
weird
course.
way. But, I told them what was up. Like, listen, like, this is kind of what I do to make money to survive. It's helped pay my medical bills. It's helped pay, all sorts of things. And, if you don't understand that, then so be it. But, I'm a grown adult. At the end of the day, you're going to find out regardless. And a lot of people, here's one question that kind of like threw me off a little bit that someone asked me that I was interested in dating. They're like, well, how do you feel about it if you were to have kids one day? And, they go to school and they're like, oh yeah, your mom's so-and-so, she's basically a porn star, blah, blah, blah. And my reaction is like, there are people on this planet and everyone is guilty of this, every single human being. We have all done something bad in our life, or something that's not even bad, just like something that we're not like, proud of, per se. Like people being drug dealers, people being, prostitutes. Some people had to go through the fucking trenches, in order to survive. Every single human being has gone through something to survive. So, take it or leave it. If you want to judge me for it, I don't give a shit. You go right ahead. But at the end of the day, you're still just as guilty. I can guarantee you've done something, And if my future kid ever comes to me and is like, Mommy, I heard, that you did this, I'm going to straight up tell him, like, yeah, I did in order to survive. That kept food in my mouth. That paid my medical bills. That kept a roof over my head, being on my own, And also, like, growing up, I kind of was just engulfed around that, I didn't have the best upbringing, but like I still worked hard all the time. I worked multiple jobs growing up, so I just it's a life that like you're just kind of stuck with. You can get out of it, no doubt. I don't plan on doing this forever, obviously.
Yeah.
But it does make good money and it helps me live the luxurious lifestyle I want to continue living.
So I do want to interject on one thing. I think that is a stigma, and even as a person that's a parent, and as a person that I will say, my parents went to strip clubs. I bartended in a strip club. And that is almost this. I don't see any different of being in a strip club or going to watch a cam service or anything different. You know, like you can say that industry, which we all know what it's called, whatever industry it is, or entertainment industry, whatever you want to label, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Are the most hardworking people I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Are the most multifaceted people I've ever seen. There are stories. I just saw the other day, there's a Florida mom where she's fighting a Florida school board because they kicked her son out because she has an OnlyFans. Okay.
Teachers.
I saw that. I think I saw that online.
Yeah,
But
and-
she was promoting it on the back of her car.
So that
Yeah, I saw that
so
too.
she might have been a little bold, okay? Like I could agree with that. And see, maybe it's the Asian in me where like I would never do that. Like I would die of shame, you know? But to say, well, because here's where I draw the line. Oh, she's a bad mom, or she's a bad person, or she's undateable, or she's not, like people throw this term, high value woman, or things like that because she does OnlyFans, or she's a dancer, or she works in this kind of things, right? I have met the most educated, interesting, amazing, hardworking, talented people that maybe they do that for work. I don't think your job defines you. And so when you meet a guy and he says, well, I don't want to date you because you do that, but where did that define who I was? But that's just a job. It's just work. It's when we start putting these other labels on it and making all of a sudden now, if you do OnlyFans, that's a personality trait.
It's predisposed
That's
judgments.
that's a characteristic. So, and that's only where I would encourage you to change verbiage is, yes, you did survive. Yes, it was your income, it's your job, but it's just another job. It's not necessarily anything bad, you know? I had the hard, like even with you, right? I had the hard time conversation tell my dad, who's 12 hours away, that I was bartending at the strip club. You know, I was bringing home $600-700 at once, and he's like, "You selling dope?" That's what he asked me, you know. And I had to tell him, you know, and I hid it from him. And then I finally told him, and my dad was like, "It's a job, you know. It's a job, you know. That's all it is. You're still my daughter. I still love you, and it's who you are." And so that's where I, as a person who maybe be on the other side, where people most commonly would think I'd be so opposed to it. I'm not, because being a mother makes me realize we're all individuals. You're still a person. You're sick. You're who you are. And anybody who doesn't want to date you because of it is truthfully insecure, really.
Exactly.
And what an amazing role that she can produce her content at her own home or whatever she wants to, and not even be physically touched. That's where I'm like, what are you mad about?
You know,
What are you bothered?
So when you said, oh, when you have a kid, oh, mom, I heard that you was doing this, doing that, right? I guess from my perspective, it's like, it's a little bit different, you know? It depends on the content you do create,
Of course.
right?
Of course.
You know, because when you are in that industry, right, it's hard because sometimes you might have somebody come up to you and tell you something, you're like, oh, shit.
Well, you don't want a little boy hearing about his mama, right?
That much?
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, well, and as a kid growing up, it could be traumatizing for a young kid.
yeah.
Just because he loves his mom so much, it's like, well, mom, like, I got to hear about this in school.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of women don't, I want to say don't, but if women have kids in that industry, they just got to be more understanding of like, you know what, hey, like my kid could potentially
See this.
see, not my kid, but
Yeah.
my friends' kids could speak about it, especially now. Social media is everywhere.
It's everywhere. Anything you put on the
Right?
internet, you're fine.
So a mom, I wouldn't say shouldn't. If you're in this field, it's probably more likely that you will, but when he gets to a certain age, but you don't want to have your kid feeling like, damn, mom, like.
Exposed to it. I think the one thing for Signey's situation is,
Not hers, because.
but what the cool thing about yours is, said child, 5-10 years from now, actual age to access internet, maybe 20-15, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How many other OF models will be by then?
Oh, more.
This industry gains
Exactly.
new content creators every day. The likeliness of someone actually like seeing that content and putting 2 and 2, 3 together, you know what I mean?
But the thing is this.
It can happen, but it's
you
rare.
want to be.
Yeah.
You want to be a hot mom one day.
Okay, yeah.
All right, so maybe not second grade. I wouldn't say maybe not second grade because you don't know what these kids nowadays. But
Well,
I'll say,
I have a kindergarten.
but let's say
Middle school is probably the most accurate.
middle school, 4th, 5th grade for sure, probably. Middle school, high school, right? Is probably where you're more likely to
Stumble upon.
stumble upon that. And your kid is like, And I guess that's just, like I said, depends on the content you create, because you have OF women who do sell their bodies, right?
Or images of that body.
Right?
Yeah.
That, or images.
Images of that
But
body.
the content is different. But speaking from, say, the women who do sell their body, or they partake on, say, XXX stuff, right? I mean, at that point, you can't consider yourself, say, a content creator. But like you said earlier, I'm not a porn star. At that point, when you're creating that type of content, you kind of are a porn star.
No.
No, the only reason why I say you are, because you know why? A lot of females back in the day, if they would have had this type of opportunity to do OF, they would have never signed a contract to do porn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's like a lot of women are leaving porn and
To
doing
do
their
this.
OF because they can manage their own
Themselves.
selves. They don't have to give people a cut. They don't have to say, oh, I got to do X, this, that, and the thing. But that's the benefit of them,
Yeah.
you know?
I think the one thing though, like why I say verbiage is so important. Anyone who does OF is not selling their body; they're selling an experience, images, and mostly an experience and images is exactly it. So selling your body is a physical thing. This is nothing physical about this, besides maybe data, downloads, messages, and comments, right? And it's very crucial how we speak about this, and that's why I always am such an advocate for things like this. Is especially as a mother, I have to watch everything I say because my child takes that word as bond, and he treats people accordingly of what I say. So she is a content creator because she is making a content that is experienced and enjoyed by somebody else, regardless of what industry that is in. That is what it is. Somebody who does actual porn is doing a physical action, which is why they're called a porn star. There's a distinction, no right or wrong, but a distinction.
But when your OF is strictly that, though.
You're still content creating because you signed it. You did it yourself.
Well, yes, technically, yes. Your platform is OnlyFans, but if all you're creating, say, is porn star content,
then you're an NSFW, a non-safe for work content page. I think the word porn star is so it's so negative, derogatory, and it's old. Nobody uses it anymore.
Well,
and maybe they are porn stars, but the proper termage in 2024 is content creator.
That is true.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm arguing with you. I just said
No, you're right. This content creator, however, I mean, yes, I'm not gonna say you're wrong. No, yes. But we have to put an emphasis on content creator because all of that content just can't be released. Just, you know. So when I hear content, I'm thinking about, you know what, something that everyone can look upon, right? You can't.
But we do.
But not everybody. I mean, if it was everybody, like you just can't put certain
Everyone
things
has
on.
sex.
No, not that, but you just can't put everything on, say, Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that. Twitter, you can. Twitter has no rules.
Oh, I even use Reddit.
Reddit too. Twitter, Reddit has no rules, right? Twitter, Reddit has no rules. However, though, right, we got to put. Like I'm on Instagram and I see people going in the Home Depot, like doing. I'm like, what the. You gonna call yourself content creators? Like, come on now.
Well, I think content creator is a broad terminology, and
It is.
it's a terminology.
People are abusing it though. I'm gonna say that.
Okay.
People are abusing the term content creator, but
I agree.
to get back to the real world, everybody date somebody and get to know somebody who you guys can share goals with, someone that you can say. Both of your goals can align, not somebody that you kind of feel like you want to just get to know this person because this person got this and that going on. Because I feel like now with social media, everybody just, you know what, hey, transactional. What can you do for me? What can I do for you, right? Yeah. When I look at it, right, okay, yeah, I bought a house, cool, but I know I can provide, you know I can pay, you know, not all your bills and my bills, because now back in the day, girls was like, oh, you know what, my grandfather paid all the bills. Well, of course, no fucking shit. His fucking mortgage or his rent was like $250. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, it's like, okay, well, you got rent, Wi-Fi. They didn't have Wi-Fi back in the day. Wi-Fi, cell phone bill, electricity bill, power bill, everything is up. Every inflation is up, right? So date someone who, you know, appreciates you, who wants to see you grow, who wants to be there for you without having to ask them to be there for you. Just someone who appreciates you, someone whose goals is like, you know, I want to make you a better person, and I want you to make, and I want to make you, I want you to make me a better person. You know, my mom and my dad been together for about 44 years, damn near. You know, and my mom turned 60 this year. My dad turned 60 last year. He'll be 61 this year. And I've seen them go through their fair share of issues, right? And now I'm be 30 this year, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, damn, you know, I've made mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes, you know, and that's the part of growing up. That's the part of accountability. It's the part of understanding, at least from a man's standpoint, right? And when you said earlier, oh, I didn't know a man could have feelings, right? Well, yes, a man should have feelings, but it shouldn't be used against them. Because nowadays it's like, with so much things going on, social media, you got so much issues, and it's like, well, a man has emotions, he's sassy. You know, I can't, oh, if you don't pay bills, I don't want to talk to you. And it's like, that's crazy talk. Because before all of that came to, you know, before that all arose through social media, it was like, you know what? I want to talk to you because you're a gentleman. You're a good person. You got a good head on your shoulders. Vice versa too. Females, right? I want to talk to you. You know, you got your head on your shoulders. You're a good girl. You're a great girl. You know, you have great values and stuff like that. But now, it's so hard, you know, especially depending on which city you live in, right? To, I wouldn't say just find a good person, but it's like, people are single, I wouldn't say not by choice, but a lot of people are picky. And what I like to say is, well, hey, you need to slow down and stop chasing the things you want and see what the universe is trying to give you as far as the things you need. You know, because you can go date, say, right, a high value single man or a high value single woman, but they might already have clearly they have their own motion before you, right? As opposed to, say, not saying, I mean, well, high value is a broad term. So let's say a person with money, right? They may already have their own way of doing things. And if this person has been making money year after year after year without you, then you could just look at it and be like, well, I mean, you're going to still do things your way, have things like that. But as opposed to growing with someone, say, before or whatever, that's a lot more beneficial, and it's probably better for your mental state, period. Because, right, a woman wants a man to provide in many different ways.
I think the one reason why I said that realization about men having feelings, it actually stems not only just from, like, obviously, like, yes, like a sassy man apocalypse, I've even said that, or things like that, but more so from, like, my father's generation, which is why that was astonishing me. This is before I even had social media. I'm thinking, like, you know, you're in first grade and a little boy pulls your hair, but your dad tells you he likes you. Okay, those type of scenarios is what I was really trying to address to, is that, at least from my father's generation, men were told they weren't supposed to cry. They were told that having emotions was weakness. And I think now that has led to, yes, a whole facade of different situations and problems. You know, you tell generations of men from 1900 to 1970 and 80 that any type of emotion is weakness. How are they supposed to communicate with their partners? And how are they supposed to handle maybe a woman like Signey who works 3 jobs and can articulate herself very intellectually, if they don't even know how to speak those emotions within themselves? So that's why I said that comment, is because I think it's crucial for people to understand the same way you feel, somebody else feels. The same way that you have worries, like I said, girls, we have our things about dating that we don't like, so do men. And respecting that is all that I have to say about that. I just think, especially like I said, dealing with my dad is like, you know, my dad was married for 27 years. Then they got a divorce. I'm an adult, my parents are divorcing. And it's so clear for me to see they didn't know how to communicate.
Yeah.
You know, and so to bring up too, the last thing I'm gonna say, which I told my dad, and you tell me what you think, right? I told my dad, you know, my dad was like, everybody these days ain't together. He's like, my dad, that's what my dad says to me. He's like, everybody's single. I see divorce everywhere. He goes, I see, you know, single people in their 40s and 30s, you know, not getting married, right? And he's like, it's wrong. And I told him, I said, your entire life, at least for me as a little girl, you are told to have a partner, and to grow up one day and meet that man or whatever and this and that. But not a lot of little girls are growing up being raised to have a great career or to love themselves or to have self-respect. And so when you go into society, right, which is what you brought up, you have memes like Justin LA Boy and people like that talking about how, I'm just gonna say it, right?
No,
It is a sassy man apocalypse. I see more men see sexy red than I have, right? Or whatever. But you know what? Freedom of expression, do you. I don't care. Because you know why? Because men do have feelings. And I want you to pop off and have fun, right? But it's the same when I want to maybe run a whole business, an industry, a career, And it's like, yeah, and that's where I'm just talking about advocating for equality is all I'm saying. Is like, yes, some women want men to pay for things, but also, like you said, a lot of men, when I hear nowadays, they just want emotional intellect, kindness, support, respect, or just understanding they have feelings, dreams, and aspirations, and finding that middle ground. But when my dad said people aren't together, you know what I told him? I said, maybe that list of find someone to love, get a good house, get a good job, have some kids, and live the rest of your life, maybe that was wrong. Maybe we were supposed to love our family and ourselves first, love our careers, live a life, and if we're lucky, we find a partner. And I think more people are realizing that order might not fit for them. And that's why they're saying single.
I don't think there's like an affirmative order.
Of course,
But
yeah.
what I do think when it comes to relationships as a whole, men are the protectors, women are the nurturers. Okay? So the issue with kind of like our generation, I guess you could say, is probably not the right way to word it, but is selfishness, for one. Okay? For two, how quick it is for people to just jump shit when some heated little argument happens, something so minuscule.
They
People are
jump
just like,
shit.
well, on to the next.
Everybody's replaceable.
There's more goldfish on the sea.
they're definitely jumping
If
shit.
we go back to how relationships were in the 90s, even before then, we had to fight. We made sacrifices. That's the whole point of our relationship,
But you also know what? Not to cut you off, to get a little quick.
Yeah.
Social media.
Exactly. But the thing is, if two grown individuals can just sit their cute little booties down and be like, hey, I want to address some stuff. I think it's so crucial for people to communicate. People don't do that anymore when it comes to relationships, and calmly. I think it's so crucial with relationships. If you are going to be in a committed relationship, you need to have like one day a week to sit down and address some problems and work through them together. Like, that is so necessary.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be turmoil.
I agree, because back in the day, 80s, 90s, depending on your situation, right? You had to figure it out. You had to talk, because really divorce wasn't necessarily, depending on where you lived at, right? If you're from the inner city, a lot of families probably didn't get married, right? They've been together for so long, it was like they were married. But you had to communicate that. You had to figure it out, you know what I'm saying? But the social media in today's world, it's like, you know what? Well, I don't got to figure it out with you. I got this person and that person saying they can do this for me and that for me. From a girl's perspective, right? Oh,
Or
yeah,
guys.
From a girl's perspective, I got this guy saying he could do this and that for me. And from a guy's perspective, oh, this girl says she'll do this and that for me, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, people do jump shit,
Social media has given people the idea that people are replaceable.
Yeah. And that's the problem. They're not.
And that ruins.
Because every time there's a transaction. A lot of times on both sides. Well, if I do something for you, this is what I want in return, as opposed to being like, hey, I love you and I appreciate you. I want to support you. I want to be there for you. Let's figure this out. Let's talk.
Or the grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah.
Social media has taught people that they think, well, if I break up with her, then I'll be with her and everything will be better. It's that false illusion.
And from my perspective, right, I was raised around a lot of women. My mom and my dad are still together, God bless. I see my mom sacrifice a lot. And what I don't think a lot of men realize is that, right, a lot of women say, oh yeah, I want a leader. I want a man that's gonna lead. Well, the first thing you're making a mistake by saying is, well, I want a man that's gonna lead. Because at the end of the day, there's no kings without a queen, period. Right? So a lot of leaders in this world, well, in this history, have had a great influence by a woman. So they say men make decisions. They say women can't be a leader because they make decisions based off emotion, which I don't necessarily agree with. But at the end of the day, if you have a man, you want him to lead, you got to understand a queen in chess can move in ways that a king can't. And a lot of people don't really understand that, you know? A lot of people really don't understand that. And I think that's a big problem for people to know that, listen, sometimes when you're in the beginning stages of of dating, he might be here. But if you guys are growing towards, you know, a bigger, you know, say I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart right now. Say towards like, you know, a bigger, not an image, but yeah, I'm having a super brain fart. I'm sorry. like
Bigger goal or lifestyle.
like you guys want to grow, and you guys have goals that you want to accomplish, right? Understand that if you're the woman, you know, and this is the man you want to be with, right? And it goes vice versa, but speaking on the women's side, right? Like you got to be his backbone, because a lot of the times, like, you know, a man might be down, you know, he might be out, and sometimes he can't always be strong, you know, and it goes vice versa.
And it's not always 50-50.
No,
Sometimes it's going to be, you know,
60-40, 70-30, 30-70,
That's the whole point of the relationship.
99-1.
You bring them up when they're down, and they bring you up when you're down. And it's just the constant sacrifices y'all make.
Life happens. If you was to lose someone that you love so dearly, right? You might not be at that, you know, hey, we're gonna go 50-50. And not talking bills, we're just talking about, you know what? I'm gonna love you the same way you love me.
Yeah.
Right? And some days you might not be able to love me the same because you really might be messed up. But as a man, we should catch on that without having to be asked about that. We should just see that. But that comes with knowing your lady, knowing your woman, you know? And where we live at in the generation we're in, it's like I wouldn't say it's hard, but it's like people just dating in this world is like America, where a lot of people are always trying to upgrade. No matter what, trying to upgrade instead of improve. If we look to improve before we upgrade, that improvement will be more valuable than that upgrade.
True, but that's work. A lot of people in this generation are lazy. They don't want to
agree.
put in the work.
I agree.
Which is sad.
Sad.
You need a wake-up call.
You do, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, welcome to another episode of Rel Off the Hill. Tia,
Hey.
you did your damn thing. Signey, you did your thing too. So I'm gonna have Signey's tattoo page, OnlyFans link in the bio. And the Bikini Barista location, everything, her hours and stuff in the bio. Tia, I am going to have your esthetician page and everything like that in the bio as well. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of Rel Off the Hill. I hope you guys find this episode to be entertaining. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
About what?
Yes. Yes. Bad bitches only, you heard?
Hey!
Right? There you go.
International Women's Day, though.
Yes. International Women's Day.
Facts.
Absolutely.
They all bad bitches.
Yes.